Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube NFL prediction segment, I'm going to be giving you my picks and analysis for Week 17 of the 2020 NFL season. First game up, Miami at Buffalo. Well, this game is a classic coin flip, but Buffalo has secured their spot. They're likely going to rest Josh Allen, at least for the majority of the game. Miami has a little bit more impetus and incentive in this one. Ryan Fitzpatrick has been, many of you may know, has been diagnosed with COVID-19. I guess they're going to go with their next guy up, and I think he's will play well enough to get this W. Miami has a shot to win to get a playoff spot. I don't believe Miami has secured anything yet, so there's a little bit more motivation for them at this point. So I'm going to go with Miami in this one. The next game, well, Baltimore at Cincinnati. I'm going to take the Ravens on the road in this one. The Ravens have been on a rampage, to say the least. They've been playing really exceptionally well. And Cincinnati does not have anything to play for. They're just, they're out of the playoffs. They've been eliminated some time ago. Of course, it's ironic because someone had made mention of this. It was on ESPN or NFL Network, I believe, something about how that the fact that the Baltimore Ravens last year were a team that were seemingly nearly invincible. I mean, they finished like 14-2 in the regular season, and then when the playoffs came, they may not have been as feared as much as other teams were that had a lesser record than them. Now this year, it's almost the exact opposite because Baltimore, their record obviously won't be 14-2 at the end of the season. Their record's going to be less worse than it was last season. And if they do get in the playoffs at say 11-5, they might actually be more feared than some other teams that might have a better record than them and in the playoffs. So it's almost the exact opposite. And Baltimore is playing very well right now. They're playing for a playoff berth. And I'm going to take the Ravens to get this one done on the road. I like Lamar Jackson and his legs. I think he's going to be running rampant over that run defense of Cincinnati. Now the next game. Now this is a game of playoff implications for Cleveland. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Well, I'm going to take the Browns in this one. Roethlisberger is not going to be starting. Now Pittsburgh Steelers coach Mike Tomlin, he said very adamantly that we're gonna be playing to win. The only thing I'm gonna disclose, the only thing he was going to disclose as far as who was playing or not was that Roethlisberger was going to be sitting out. The fact it's at Cleveland, the Browns have a playoff berth on the line. If I'm not mistaken, the Browns haven't been to the playoffs since like 2002. I mean, it's been like an eternity for this team. If they're not motivated for this game, then there's no, you're not going to be motivated to do anything practically. What would be better for them to defeat than to defeat a division rival and beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had dominated them perhaps in a lot of previous the series and seasons past. I'm going to take Cleveland to get this one done at home. Now the next game, Minnesota at Detroit. Well, I'm going to take. I mean, this game could go either way. Neither one of these teams are going to the postseason, but I'm going to take. I'll take Detroit to win this one, just mainly on virtue of them being at home to finish this season strong. And strong if it's just a one. I don't know. I honestly don't remember if they had won last week or not. But as far as this game goes, they are going. I do believe they are going to win this particular game. I think it will. For them to finish the season on a winning note and it being at home, and it was a season that might have been very disappointing for a lot of Lions fans. And Minnesota has also had somewhat of a disappointing season. A lot of people had anticipated the Vikings to make the postseason at the very least. Perhaps the loss of Stephon Diggs played an integral role in their misfortunes this season. So I'm going to take Detroit to get this one done at home. Now the next game, New York Jets at the New England Patriots. Well, This game, this is another classic coin flip. This could go either way. Both teams, again, another game. Two teams not going to make the playoffs. You have the Patriots, who have really just not looked very good at all in the last several weeks or so. And you have the Jets that are going in on just a modest 2-game winning streak. The fact that it's going to beat New England, Belichick certainly, I don't think he would really want to lose to the Jets on the last game of the season. I know that, I don't know this, but Cam Newton likely will not start in this one. I don't think they're going to take a chance and get him injured on the last game of the season, an insignificant matchup. But the New England Patriots, I do believe, will still find a way to get this done. I think with Belichick, it would feel like very demoralizing if they were to lose to the New York Jets on this last game of the season. New England has dominated the Jets in recent years. I believe they will get this W and end the season on a winning note. Now the next game, talk about a very compelling matchup. Who would have thought that the Dallas Cowboys and Giants, at the last game of the season, both of them would have a chance to get the division title? And I mean, even from the beginning of the season, Dallas had some playoff aspirations. The Giants, I mean, who would have thought they would still be in contention and mathematically alive to win the NFC East? I sure as heck didn't. Now, in this game, though, based on who's playing better, well, the Dallas Cowboys are the better, I believe, are the better team. They have been playing much better. They've won 3 in a row. The Giants have averaged only like 8 or 9 points over the last 3 games. They've shown nothing but ineptitude on offense, and to me, I don't know how they're going to get this done against a Dallas Cowboys team whose offense is really starting to flourish and really starting to play together with Andy Dalton. If Dallas wins this game and Washington loses, Dallas will be the NFC East champions. Who would have thought at mid-season, where Dallas looked like they didn't have a chance to do this, and a very tumultuous season for them. There may have been speculation that Mike McCarthy was going to be fired, and now they're in a position where they may actually win this division on the last game of the season. So we're going to see how this pans out, and if they win, they'll have a chance after the conclusion of the game, because the Washington Philadelphia game does not come on till later that night, 8:20 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm going to take Dallas to get this done. Now the next game, the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears. Well, the Green Bay, I mean, going in 12-3, they have a chance to get that #1 seed. And that's something they could really use, especially with, Aaron Rodgers approaching. He's in that twilight of the career, I would say. Chicago, there's a lot riding on them. In this game, if they win, and I believe they need some help from some other teams, they could clinch a playoff berth. They both have a lot of impetus and incentive to win this game, but I think Green Bay's offense is going to be the main difference in this particular matchup. Mitch Trubisky and the Bears have been playing very exceptionally well in recent weeks, but I just don't think they're going to have enough as far as points go to beat Green Bay. I think Green Bay wins this one in a tight game, so I'm going to take the Packers to get this one done on the road. Now the next game, I'm going to take, this game is another insignificant game with both teams mathematically eliminated from playoff contention, but I'm going to take the Broncos to beat the Las Vegas Raiders. Denver is at home. There's really nothing to play for anybody, but I think Denver would like to, show what they could do with some of their starters. I do believe they're going to play their starters for a little bit in this game, just to kind of, maybe show the coaches and what they're actually as far as where they're at in terms of their ability. I understand a lot of that's been evaluated at this point since most of the season's over, but I think there's still some people that would like to see what a lot of these starters, what they have in them, and whether it's their quarterback or other positions or what have you. So in this particular game, I'm going to take the Broncos to get this one done. Now the next game, we got Jacksonville at Indianapolis. Now Jacksonville, they're going to get their. Looks like they're getting that number 1 uh, spot as far as the draft goes. And Jacksonville really has nothing to play for at this particular time. The Colts are playing for the opportunity to make the postseason. Their offense seems to be clicking on all cylinders at this point in time. The defense is, I would say, is solid. We're going to see how Philip Rivers does. And this, Philip Rivers has stated, I don't know if he's hinted at it or if he's directly stated that this could be his final season. So there is, again, the incentive and motivation as far as the postseason. Philip Rivers' last season, perhaps to be playing in the NFL, and they know they probably have to win. I think Tennessee is going to win their game, and they're going to get the division title. But Indy still has a shot to get a wild card spot in that event. If that's the scenario, that's how it goes down. So I'm going to take the Colts to get this one done at home. Now the next game. Well, I'm going to take the Chargers on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs have locked up the number 1 spot. I'm sure that Patrick Mahomes might not even play this game at all. They're going to rest their starters, I'm sure, for at least the majority of the game. I don't see Kelsey playing much, or having any of their receivers, or especially their dominant players. I don't see any of them really playing that much in this particular matchup. Now the Chargers, they still would like to finish the season on a high note, and they can get some of their stats. Some of these players pad the stats a little bit. I know that's not really significant, but they may. It could be done. I mean, that's still something that will happen if they play a lot of their starters in this game. I think the Chargers are going to play the starters a lot more than the Chiefs are going to be playing theirs, and that will ultimately be the difference in this one. Kansas City is not going to go all out or really, they're not going to be at full throttle in this game because they don't have anything to play for. They got the first round bye, and they're not going to take any chances in terms of anybody, especially prominent players, getting injured. So I'm going to take the Chargers to win this one. Now the next game, Arizona at the Rams. This could go either way. Jared Goff is not going to be playing for the Rams, and Arizona has something to play for. Both these teams are still in the playoff hunt, but we got to remember that the Rams do have a very strong defense, and spearheaded by Aaron Donald. Arizona, it seems like a lot of people are picking the Cardinals to go in and get this one done. But we have to remember the Rams they have a very good defense. The only player that's going to be out in this, as far as anyone of any significance for the Rams, is Jared Goff, and I understand he's a very solid quarterback. But the Rams are going to be at home. They have incentive to win, just like the Cardinals do. I think that's going to factor in this game. I understand they're not going to have an overabundance of fans in the stands because of the COVID situation, but I think the Rams are going to be up for this game. I think their defense is going to be dominant, and I like them. I like their defensive line over the offensive line of the Cardinals. I think it's going to be one of the trenches. I like the Rams to get this done. Now the next game. Well, in the next game, I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks to defeat the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco is at home. Seattle can still play for a number 1 spot. I believe if they win, not mistaken, they win and Green Bay loses, they could get the number 1 spot. Now the thing though is, and they're going to be playing at the same time as Green Bay. So, obviously they're just going to be focused on what they have to do. Obviously there's no control over the Green Bay matchup. But the thing about it is Seattle obviously has a chance to get this done. There was a lot of talk earlier in the season, about really can chastise it or just really being very critical of the Seattle defense, and the Seattle defense has come around in recent weeks, and they're starting to look more formidable as these weeks are progressing. They're going to be in the playoffs no matter what this outcome is, and they're going to be a very dangerous team because the defense is ascending. I think it's going to play well enough to go into San Francisco, and the 49ers have nothing to play for. They're out of the postseason. They've had their Super Bowl hangover, whatever. I understand Garoppolo has missed a good part of the season. That has played an integral role in their misfortunes. But in this game, I'm going to take Seattle to get this one done on the road. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, well, the next game, I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints to go on the road and beat Carolina. Carolina has really played with a lot of dogged effort in their record may not show that or indicate that, but they have played as, I mean, you'll hear a lot of the analysts say this, and when you watch sports shows, that Carolina has really virtually no quit in them. They are going to play to the end. It doesn't matter who they're playing. They're obviously not intimidated by anybody. The problem is, though, when the Saints have a shot, in this one, I believe to get some kind of positioning in the postseason, they might be able to go number one spot over the other, and they have a shot to do that. The Saints do have something to play for in this game. Alvin Kamara had those 6 rushing touchdowns in the previous game. They have the running game, receiving core going, and Drew Brees is going to play well enough, I believe, to get this job done. It's going to be tough because it is a divisional game. Carolina isn't home, and Carolina, again, they might not have compiled the best one-loss record this season, but they are going to play hard. I believe this will be a competitive game, but I like the Saints to get this one done. And this one, Carolina's defense, I don't know if it's going to be enough to even really contain the Saints. So I'm going to go. I don't think McCaffrey's not playing. I don't think either for the Carolina. So I'm going to take the Saints on the road. Now the next game, I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans to win on the road against the Houston Texans. Now Tennessee, they've been kind of an enigmatic team. I mean, I know they're 10-5, and it's your one-loss record. I mean, it's going to reflect your team, and they're obviously a very good team. They're better than an average football team at this point in time, but they've been somewhat erratic. They started the season like 4-0, then they lost like 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4. And then later on they showed like they were surging again, and they were playing well, and they were subjugated by the Packers last week. I think a lot of that had to do with the weather, the conditions there, and Derrick Henry, the running back for the Titans, was not used to that kind of adverse weather conditions. But in this game at Houston, I think the Titans, the fact that they have a chance to win that division, they have, in the AFC South, they definitely have the motivation and drive. If Indianapolis somehow falls on their faces, the game for Tennessee may not be quite as important because they'll get the division title if the Colts lose. But the Colts, even though the Colts are playing early, the Colts are playing the same time. But if it's at a point where the Colts were getting annihilated by Jacksonville late in the game, Tennessee may take the foot off the brakes a little bit because they would have likely secured that division spot. But I don't think the Colts are going to lose that game. Tennessee is going to have to win to get that division title, because if Tennessee wins and the Colts presumably will win their game, they'll both finish at 11-5, and Tennessee will win the tiebreaker. If the Colts win and the Titans lose, the Colts would finish 11-5, Titans 10-6, and they would lose the division. And there's a chance they could miss out on the playoffs. So the Titans will get this done, I believe. Houston, I understand what J.J. Watt, really obviously a formidable defensive player for Houston, is try to get his teammates fired up. And it's going to be at Houston. I think they would love to really, even though it's the last game of the season, it's insignificant, they would love to win this game and maybe derail the Titans in turn in terms of capturing the division title. Remember, Houston did win the division. I believe they won it last. Houston won it last season, if I'm not mistaken, and they could actually thwart the Titans in getting that title if they do pull off this upset. I think it'll be close. Tennessee people, some of you may not remember, but when Tennessee and Houston played earlier this season at Tennessee, that game was extremely competitive, and it came down to the final. There was a last drive by Tennessee that won the game for them. They won, and if I'm not mistaken, that was in overtime. But you got to check on that. But I think that was in overtime. Titans got the job done, and so I'm going to take the Titans to win that one. But last but not least, I'm going to take the Redskins reluctantly to prevail at Philadelphia. This game is actually going to be very compelling because Washington, even though at 6-9, they win the division. As long as they win that game, they control their own destiny. Whoever wins the Dallas Giants game could win that division if Washington loses. But I don't think Washington's going to lose. They have something to play for. I don't know if Alex Smith is going to play or not. Philadelphia, even though it's insignificant, it's a divisional game. They would like to derail Washington in their attempt to win the division. But Philadelphia really doesn't have a lot to play for. They may play with a little pride, but I really don't see. They talked about, well, Philadelphia, it might be significant for them to enhance Doug Peterson's prospects of maintaining his position or job. But Philadelphia, I think it's like 4-11 right now. If you finish 5-11, in contrast to 4-12, I don't know if that's going to really make that much of a difference in terms of whether you're going to retain your position as head coach or you're going to relinquish it. So for me, I don't think it really is that important for the Eagles. I don't really anticipate them playing their starters that much in this game. I'm going to take the Redskins to get this one done on the road. And anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube NFL prediction segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.